Hi, I'm Mel, and I am choosy. My ultimate skin goal is gusto kong mag-even out ang skin tone ko.
Hi, my name is Gian Enwada. My skin goals are to become whiter, fairer, healthier, and younger.
It really shows na yung skin ko ngayon mas moisturized, mas glowing, and mas healthy.
Thanks to Glutasy, I got my skin tone back. Thank you so much, Glutasy.
Okay, we're live. Good morning, everyone. It's tremendous Thursday today. Good morning to our Zoom participants and good morning to our FB Live viewers. It's another e-learning session powered by Ariva Academy. So everyone, welcome to another series of our HR Virtual Summit PH 2020 Bounce Back HR. So our topic for this morning is best practices on human resource planning during uncertain times. So before we introduce our speaker, my name is Irish Malonda Samson. I'm your host, and joining me is my co-host and our moderator for later, Mr. Howell V. Mabalot. Sir Howell, good morning.
Magandang umaga, Miss Irish.
Nakapag-
umaga.
Nakapag-breakfast ka na ba, sir?
Yan.
Okay.
4.
So, shall we start, Sir Howell? Let's now welcome our participants from out of the country. They are from Ipoh, Malaysia, Lalitpur, Nepal, Oslo, Norway, wow, Doha, Qatar, Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, Pattaya City, Thailand, Dubai, United Arab Emirates, Sharjah, United Arab Emirates, Los Angeles, United States, and Boston, United States. Wow, overseas talagang naabot natin, Sir Howell. Yes. And in order to for us to have a smooth flow of our e-learning session, here are the house rules and few reminders. So, for those of you who are first-time viewers of our webinar, please type in hi in the chat box now and let us know where are you from. Let us see. Who are the first-timers here? Okay. And in order for you to hear us loud and clear, you will be needing a good quality headset. So please use the following codes. Hello, Trisha, first-timer. Welcome to our e-learning session. Guadalupe Paras from Carcar, Cebu. Hello po, welcome. Consorcio de la Cruz from Health Carousel, Miss Connie, Kay Angela, Arian Joy, Leonardo, Jasmine, welcome to our e-learning session. Mr. Ronel Tan, welcome po. Kyla Maria Falero, okay? So now use the following codes to show if you can hear us. 111, we're loud and clear, we're audible. Okay, so far 111. Okay, Angela, thank you. Jasmine, May, Anna, Kathy, loud and clear. Evelyn, okay, we're good. 222 means you cannot hear us. 2121 means our sound is breaking or there's a lag, and question mark if you don't understand anything. Okay, but so far, everyone loud and clear. Chosa, Annalyn Sanchez from Tarlac, hello. Good morning. Diane Josephine, loud and clear. Okay. So next, we will be having a quick break later after the presentation of our guest speaker and before we move on to our question and answer portion. Participants' microphones will be temporarily disabled by the administrator during discussion to avoid interruptions. Questions will be entertained after each topic of the session. For questions and clarifications during the provided time after each topic, please click the raise hand button for the administrator uh, to enable the microphone for live questions. Type in your questions at the Q&A box. One question at a time will be entertained. For comments and feedback, please scan this QR code and you will get our feedback form. So please type in your comments, suggestions, topics to discuss for us to improve our future e-learning sessions. And now, to introduce our speaker and to discuss best practices on human resource planning during uncertain times, Sir Howell Mabalot, please introduce our guest speaker.
Sure. Thank you, Miss Irish. And I believe our speaker today is a very special. Right, Miss Irish?
Sir Howell, I'm sorry, we cannot hear you clearly.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Yeah, we're good. Okay.
Oh, not yet. No?
Not yet, sir.
What about now?
Medyo ano pa, not clear, sir.
Hindi.
Maybe you can just take off the headset.
Okay, ito, naririnig niyo ba ako?
Yeah, it's better.
It's okay. Sana ako eh. No? Anyway, Miss Iris, tama ba that our speaker for today has an introduction?
I'm sorry, sir.
Na may introductory si
Sir, medyo nag-ano tayo. Anyways, let's check our connection first. I can introduce our speaker, sir.
Sure. I will leave the meeting and I will return.
Sure, sir. No problem. Okay. So I know you're excited to meet our speaker. Please do watch this video.
Sir Ronnie Turla. Like I said earlier, I have a new Lodi, so you did a great work providing us your insight. The learning environment was really helpful and entertaining, and of course, it will really help us improve our skill and our profession as an HR practitioner. So good job.
And now, participants, let's all welcome our speaker for today, Mr. Ronnie Turla. Hi, Sir Ronnie.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. Thank you, Ariva. Thank you, Irish. Thank you also, Howell, for being here. as part of this program. I'm very honored to be speaking to you today as we discuss some relevant topics on HR, no, which is human resource planning. Yep. Okay.
Okay.
So,
You can share your
uh,
slides, Sir Ronnie. Take it
sige. So
away.
I will now share my slides with you as we start our presentation. Okay. Hold on. I'm pulling up my slides here. Okay, I'm good. Okay, so for today, we're going to discuss the topic on best practices on human resource planning. So again, my name is Ronaldo Turla. I'm a certified human resource professional. You can call me Ronnie for short. And I'm speaking directly from my home in Pasig. No? And I hope that this program will be useful for you as you prepare your companies after, no, this pandemic is over. Okay, so let's start looking at first the background of what's happening in our situation right now. Okay, so if you can see, there was a survey done, and I've been monitoring this. There was a survey done for HR professionals, and this is what appeared in the survey. What are the biggest HR challenges in dealing with COVID 19? Okay, so one of them would be difficulty coordinating response across teams, business units, and geographical areas. So obviously, if you're a company with different locations, this will be a very challenging task for you if you're in HR. No? Another one, two-way communication is not as effective as it could be, no? Because most of the time, communication can be disrupted. Sometimes it's just a one-way communication for some people, and sometimes it's totally silent. No? So because of the uncertainty that we're experiencing right now. No? Third is not adjusting fast enough to help our customers. No? So I think we're all guilty of this because of this quarantine, because of this crisis. To a certain extent, we're quite slow in terms of responding to a lot of things happening to us. Because again, as mentioned, this is a new normal. No? So just like in any kind of change, we have to adapt, and adapting is not as easy as you think it is. Fourth is there's lack of agility to respond to rapidly changing situation. No? Just like what you're experiencing right now, we're experiencing in the Philippines right now. There are a lot of factors to consider. There are a lot of things that more or less we have to respond. So in this case, we need to be able to more or less respond to it. No? Now, another thing that also appeared in the survey, the top issues, no, that are on employees' minds. So if you can see, sorry, the top four issues according to the survey, financial security is at the top, obviously, because this is uncertain time. So financial security is already something that employees are thinking. Okay, health and well-being at 56%. Okay, family at 25%, because obviously some people or even some of us, our family members have been affected. No, so in this case, it's really an issue that we are thinking about. No, and of course, productivity and work at 20%. No, so those are issues on employees' minds. No, on the other hand, these are the issues, no, on HR department's minds. Okay, so according to the survey, health and well-being is at 41%, because more than anything else, no, I think the health of employees is at most importance, especially nowadays for an HR practitioner. No? So the health and well-being is something that you'd want your employees to have, no, because you'd want them alive, no, because otherwise if they're not alive, no, then you will have a disruption in your workforce, no. So second, managing remote work, no, most of us have been ushered into remote work, and that's the reason why we're attending all of these webinars, reviewing YouTube videos about how to go through webinars and all, because this is not something that we are really adjusted to, no, except for some people who are basically really working from home from the start, no? Also, jobs and continuity. No, what do we mean by that? No, so we don't know if our jobs will continue, no, or sooner or later we'll probably lose our jobs. No? According to, if you have been reading the news, Dole, for example, announced that there are 2 million who lost their jobs during the ECQ. No? And that's for a fact that the government is also telling us not, private employers, not to really let go of employees. But again, this are uncertain times. No? So the continuity of the jobs is really at risk right now. And of course, not to forget is the mental health or the uncertainty. Okay, so at 14%. So a lot of us are really concerned of the mental health because obviously one of the disease that we will be fighting off is isolation. No? So imagine yourself, for example, just talking to a computer, a laptop, for example, appearing that, you are in front of the group. No? So in a way that could cause some mental health problems. No? So again, these are things on top of HR department's minds. Now, if you look at the employee experience pre and after COVID, no, there is a major shift, as you can see. So if you look at before COVID, you can see that productivity and engagement was the focus of employee experience. No? After COVID, the focus now would be more of diagnosis and response. Why? Because obviously, we will have to identify who are those infected and also respond to them compassionately. No? So I think these are things that we are preparing as we go back to the new normal. No? Also, another one, moments. No? Major talent transitions, onboarding, promotion, movements, and all. After COVID, it would be immediate actions, meaning that who are affected by the crisis, incidences, locations, where you are from. So that is something that we are trying to look into. No? Experiences, no? Designed in advance. After COVID, no, you'll have to design it in real time. Okay, so meaning that you cannot just create a scripted employee experience. It has to be real. Okay, so in terms of local, global, then local. After COVID, local, then global. Okay, what does that mean? Meaning that we have to protect first locally, so that somehow we also can contribute to the flattening of the curve. No, meaning that global pandemic, for example, will definitely flatten out. No? If the Philippine setting would also contribute to that. HR function before COVID, domain centered. Okay. After COVID, cross domain. What does it mean? The HR function after COVID would cross different functions. No? So meaning that you are not just going to handle the same old functions like recruitment, compensation, etc. You will have to be really doing an extra mile. No? You have to be in Tagalog, the kuya and the ate to your employees. No? Because obviously, they're relying on you for support. Okay. So in terms of pacing, before COVID, periodic data analysis. After COVID, you have real-time data analysis. No? So you cannot anymore rely on previous data. That's thrown out of the window because, as you have said, it's a disruption. So when a disruption happens, previous data is just as good as history, meaning that you'll have to face new challenges nowadays, so which I will discuss in a little while. Okay, now another thing that's also interesting to note is that HR's readiness is quite worrisome. No? Why is that? No? Because if you look at a study that was done, no? Look at the highest percentage here, 57, negative 57%, means that HR leaders are not equipped in operating in a highly digital environment. What does that mean? That means that when people go back to work and it's already a digital environment, it will be a struggle. It will be an uphill climb. No? Given that you have managers, for example, that will have different management style, etc., etc. So again, this causes worry for some people. Okay, so again, we have to take some action, and I think learning, just like attending webinars like this, would help you or even your manager. So I encourage you, HR, as well as your managers, to also participate in webinars such as this, being given by Ariva. Okay, now we are again faced with the big reset. Okay, the term that is being used or buzz around right now. So we have to reset work. Okay, reset the budgets. Okay, reset leadership, reset trust. Okay, and of course reset HR. No, so for some people who are optimistic, this is something positive for them because this is something new. No, for some people who are probably the old timers, the baby boomers or the Gen X, this might be again a challenge because obviously we are so used to our previous functions as HR. No? So the big reset will really affect everyone in the workplace. That's for sure. Now, how could COVID again affect workplaces? Just to establish what we're experiencing right now. Obviously, we'll experiences absenteeism. Okay, so the question here is, how do you operate with a business if the absenteeism is now greater than 25%? Wow. Okay, so if people are absent, people are not in their desk, people are working from home, for example. So that's how COVID could affect change in the pattern of commerce. No, how to operate when the demand is dramatically changing. Okay, so obviously certain industries are thriving right now, but a lot of other industries are also affected. Okay, interrupted supply and delivery. How to operate when supply chain is insecure. Okay, so you really don't know. No, for example, as simple as going to the supermarket, trying to find the product that you're so used to buying, and yet it's not in the supermarket. No? So obviously the supply chain is really affected right now. Now, how could HR be a sounding board to CEOs? Here's how you can do it. No? Obviously, your CEO will be asking from you, are you ready for a business slowdown? Okay, but you have to make sure that people are saved and still are productive. Okay, so on the part of HR, no, you will try to ask what you act now will leave a mark as our culture. No, as they say, for example, what you're going to do right now will be written in history, the history of the company, as to how you responded to the employee crisis. No, as one HR guru has mentioned, no, being an employee champion, no, advocating during crisis will really make a dent in your culture. No? So definitely, you also have to be optimistic, no, because you know that there is a recovery for it. No? So just like in any kind of crisis, there will be a recovery. But the question there is, how fast and how efficient will you be in terms of the recovery? So that's the question in most HR's mind. Okay, so the role of HR in the outbreak could be summarized into four. Okay, number one, you keep your employees safe and sound. Okay, that's one. Number two, get businesses up and running. Okay, third is realign people to the new normal. Okay, so and fourth, prepare your organization for recovery. Okay, so just like the picture here in the slide, you will become the HR superhero. No, so we're very fond of Marvel superheroes. So obviously, you will play a big role. No, so I will bet on that people will remember you for the things that you will do during this crisis. Okay, so in times of the crisis, you also have to, let me share this with you in terms of how to respond to crisis, no, using the acronym CALM. Okay, so C here means to communicate more than the normal. Okay, and A stands for acknowledging that the crisis is disrupting and disorienting a lot of people, even me. No? Listen, no, to the fears, concerns, and recommendations that emerge from all stakeholders. No? So you have to be a listening person at this time, because you don't have the monopoly of one single opinion. No? And of course, manage concerns with honesty, transparency, and timeliness. Now, this is very challenging, no? Because obviously your personal leadership will be challenged here. No? So how effective you are as a leader. Now, let me share this with you in terms of accidents and crisis. No? Dave Ulrich, which is a acknowledged guru in HR, shared with us, probably if you've read this in LinkedIn, he shared with us how he can picture 4 phases of emergency accident. No? From accident with first aid, from ambulance with transition, hospital with expert care, and hope to embed to a new normal. No? So he said that talent, leadership, and organization, and each of the 4 phases of accident will be taken as part of this crisis. No? So if you translate it into HR, for example, you would see that for every phase mentioned here, from the accident with the first aid, you're given different areas, from talents, leadership, and organization, to the ambulance with transition, hospital with expert care, okay, and eventually hoping to go to a new normal. So these are probably the phases that HR will transition to. Now, some work principles that you have to remember with regards to COVID-19. No? So as mentioned by the World Economic Forum. No? So first, prioritize your planning, well-being, and communication. No? And then focused on employee experience and motivation. Okay, so that's why planning is an important aspect of what we're experiencing right now. No? Ensure responsible work redesign, meaning that when you redesign your works, for example, nowadays, you have to make sure that you also consult with your employees. No? And of course, balance short-term cost concerns with medium-term resilience and rebound. No? So obviously, if you want to be a strategic partner, you have to be conscious of the cost, no, implications of what we're experiencing right now. Okay. Also, another thing to take note is putting the people first strategy checklist. No, so I think this is a very good guide. No, let me know if you'd want a copy of this particular certain parts of the slides, because I'm willing enough to share this with you. In terms of the workforce and workplace. No, so these are things that you can use as a checklist. Okay, so again, I'm placing it here for you, for it to be helpful for those listening. No? I know that there are a lot of people now listening who are in HR or probably interested in HR. Now, another very good way to look at the crisis nowadays, given by, Five Horizons: resolving, resilience, return, reimagination, and reform. Okay, so this was provided by McKinsey, a global consulting company, that looked at the global crisis. So again, this is something that we can take a look at. Now, if you look at the jobs that are being studied nowadays, a study that was done by the U.S. Labor Bureau of Statistics showed to us the workers who can telework by industries, because work from home nowadays is so in demand, or it's a topic, that is in a lot of the webinars that are present. And if you can see here, there's a decision three. The decision three will help you identify who to nominate for telework and who not to. Because obviously, in working from home or telework, two important things should be taken in consideration. The job, and the personal characteristics of the person. What does it mean? So you don't just look at the job itself, but also what are the characteristics of the person that you're dealing with. So because working from home is not for everyone. Now, again, here are some critical actions that you should consider. So leading us to talk about really human resource planning here. So if you can see here, a lot of things that you should be doing should be about planning. Workforce planning, workforce redeployment. All of these things will happen after the crisis, or after we open up the quarantine. So all of this will affect us. Now, as I've said, what are the actions of HR that we have to take note? Definitely, number one, work from home is here to stay. Okay, so that's one conclusion that a lot of speakers, experts would tell us, that work from home will be with us for a long time. Not just for 2020, but probably spanning across even 2 to 3 years from now. So we have to adopt technologies that work to support work from home. So we have to be prepared with how we can adapt to the technology, the fast pace. Even me, on a personal note, I'm having sometimes a hard time adapting to all the technologies that we are using right now. So obviously, I'm not a techie, but I can be at some point. But I think the pace of technology nowadays is so fast. Okay, I cannot oversimplify that. So another thing that HR has to do is revamp policies and procedures. So this is the right time for HR to revamp your policies and procedures. Because there has been a lot of advisories by DOLE, and if you stick to your old policies, you will be forgotten. So it's not anymore the usual policies that you will be implementing. So you have to be intentional. Establish peer-to-peer intentions, meaning that you need to take the hat of an employee also. So how would you feel if that policy is implemented for you? Okay, because even in HR, you'd always feel, oh, I'm exempted. But nowadays, because of the crisis, one of the things that we have realized is that we're all in this together. There's no boss, there's no employee. It's just us as part of organizations, as part of humanity. Next is to establish guidelines and rules for staying committed. No, because I think one of the things that will challenge you right now is to stay committed. No, because obviously, with the long time of not meeting with each other face to face, I'm pretty sure when you meet each other, you'll have all those stories, and all of those insights that you will share with each other. No? Also, another thing that I need to highlight is to provide flexibility and trust. No? So I think nowadays we have to be flexible enough. No, gone are the days that management will just impose rules or policies. No, I think nowadays employers, CEOs, presidents, for example, will also have to give a listening ear to their employees more than ever. No? Because obviously we have different situations, we come from different locations, and we have different family backgrounds. So we have to make sure that we provide flexibility to our employees. No? At the same time, we have to also trust, establish trust in the workplace. No? And in this case, we have to review our employment terms. No? Are we going to go fixed or full time? No? Or are we going to flexi or do part time? No? So now the emergence of what they call contingent workforce. No? So contingent workforce is something that has been cited, globally. No? According to a latest Forbes magazine issue, the current situation focuses on staying afloat. No? Much emphasis on contingent workforce. No? The very classic case here is the case of Grab. If you look at the case of Grab, these are contingent workers. These are not necessarily your typical employees. These are people who are working independently as entrepreneurs, and that's why they became a classic case study of contingent. So in the long run, beyond the pandemic, contingent workforce will be present with us. Otherwise known as your gig economy. The gig economy is here to stay, meaning that people who are doing online work, people who are on a freelance, all of these people will be. So this is the contingent workforce, as you can see. So how do we define contingent workforce? You have independent contractors, you have consultants like me, or people from Ariva. These are consultants, free agents, temporary people, outsourced employee, freelancer, or part-time workers. This will be the theme after the crisis, or during the crisis. So contingent workforce is present with us. So we have to be aware of that. Now, let me share with you also a 2018 study by a global manpower company, and it provided us more or less on the Philippine setting. We're 10th in terms of our total workforce index, 4th in terms of regional. Okay, and I think what's interesting here is that more or less in terms of our English proficiency, we're at 79%. Highly skilled, it's at 25%. I don't know what that tells us, but I'd like to focus on this slide more. Okay, if you can see in terms of the availability, our total workforce broken down. This is a 2018 study, by the way. 58% is permanent and 36% is contingent. What does that mean? Obviously, the contingent is inching closer to the permanent. Okay, so if you're still an employee relying on your corporate background, for example, you might be at a loss, because there's no more security now. Companies, even big ones, for example, will really experience disruption. So as we have said, you cannot rely on the previous history of employment. You have to rely on your own skill, on your own capacity to build something for yourself. Okay, so I think that's a reality for us. Now, since we're talking about human resource planning here, I'd like to present to us a certain model. So if you will be preparing for human resource planning, I'd like to encourage you to use what I call the 4Ps model. What is the 4Ps model? So this is focusing on your internal talent. 4 things you have to consider when you're doing your human resource planning. What are these? Number 1, performance-wise. So when you open back to your businesses again, you have to consider who are the people who are performing. For those who are not performing, you have to address them offsite. Okay. Second, look at potential of the person, meaning that if you have not yet looked at the potential of the person, this is the right time to look for those people with potential. Maybe you can do some assessments, do some surveys, for example, and ask your managers who are the people who have potential, so that you can consider who will be your internal talent. No? Third is preference wise, meaning um, this is on the part of the employee, meaning that if you tell the employee we will have to do work from home, we will have to do part time, the question is, will I prefer it? Will this be something that I am amenable to? No? Because obviously you cannot just shove to the person and say, oh, you work from home, no, and just follow everything that we're doing right now. So you have to identify who are those people who will have some preference, no, let's say for work from home or otherwise. No, another one is perception. Okay, perception meaning that, you know, when you ask your managers, your management, no, is this person going to be a productive or a contributor for us? No, will that person, you know, help us start up again? Okay, after the crisis, because otherwise, if not, then probably you can consider some alternatives for that person. Okay, so again, all of these things you can use in terms of planning your workforce. Okay, now for the entrepreneurs here, or probably to help also, no, HR and the entrepreneurs, no, here are some things that you can start off, no. On the first wave, if you're a business owner or you're also in HR, help your business owner, no, cut some variable expenses and apply some delay tactics, because obviously we're experiencing a lot of crisis. No? On the second wave, no, try to optimize the rewards that you have. No? So whatever you're giving out to your employees right now, no, try to review it, whether, you know, are you at the position to really give it out to them. Okay, and then of course do some right sizing. What I mean by right sizing, make sure that you have the right person for the right job. Okay, and of course drive process improvement. This is the very good time, because we have a lot of time reviewing our processes. This is the time to process improve. Okay, on the third wave, try to cut some fixed allowances. Okay, also target headcount reduction. No, I've seen some clients of mine, because I've been doing consulting, that they're talking about some reduction in people, especially you know, one principle that you can follow is last in first out. What do we mean by that, last in first out? Meaning that, you know, the last people who came in, the newly hired, no, might be people that you can let go if need be, no, so that you can maintain a good workforce. Okay, closure of underperforming operations, no, and of course also looking at reviewing suppliers concession. Okay, now on the long term, definitely you'll have to consider headcount reduction. Okay, definitely, which we'll be talking in a while, because we're talking about human resource best practices for human resource planning. No? Divesting into other businesses, okay, or cutting your capital expenditures might be a consideration here. No? Or another is outsource, because obviously there are a lot of outsourcing companies waiting for companies to you know, to talk to them. No? So this is where you can start. Now, how to plan? This is my recommendation for you. Starting with staying afloat. No? If you're the business, your objective is to sustain your company, if at all. No? So make sure that you stay afloat within the next few months. No? And then to survive, try to scale down. No? As we have said, no? Try to cut down on expenses that are not really necessary for the company to operate. Okay? Then eventually, to grow, really trim down. No? Trim down on certain unnecessary operations. No? And finally, also, no? If after 6 months you have done A, B, and C, make sure that you consider to transform. Okay? So from A, B, C, then to transform, meaning that you're looking at the company to really last a longer time. Okay? So again, it all depends on the time and money. No? So this particular slide that I'm showing to you considers two factors here: the time and also the money or the financials that you have currently in your company. Okay, so again, all of these things you can use, no, to be able to plan ahead. No? So let me offer to you some possible scenarios, no, during the crisis. No? Let me read it from you. No? So here, there's one employee who has been in close contact with a suspected case of COVID. Okay, so what would you do? No? If you have some answers, probably you can put your answers in the chat box here. No? So I'd like some comments here in this possible scenario. So what will you do? Okay. Number 2, an employee who has just returned from travel overseas, no, though the country has been marked as a red zone. What will you do? Okay. Number 3, an influential employee who refuses to come to work for fear of contracting the virus. What will you do as HR? So these are scenarios that you will be faced. The question is, how will you answer it? Okay. Let me offer to you a suggested model. No? I call this the ethical, legal, and prudential model. Okay. So in deciding for responding to those 3 possible scenarios, consider 3 things: ethics, legal, and prudential. Okay. Ethics means that you being transparent. Make sure that when you make a decision, your decision making process follows a certain ethical standards. That's number 1. Second, legal. Act in compliance with laws, rules, and practices. That means that consult lawyers, consult the labor code with regards to the legal aspect. Don't be blinded by this is just what we have to do. And of course, the prudential part, meaning that make the informed decision in the best interest of the company. At the end of the day, your decision will be a precedent to anything that you will do after the crisis. Okay, so all of this are again options for you to decide when you are given or faced with that scenario. Okay, so here are some alternatives to layoffs. Okay, because obviously as part of human resource planning, we might be considering layoff. Okay, so what are some alternatives to layoff? Number 1, reduce spending. Obviously, cut expenses. Second, offer extra unpaid leave. Okay, so again, this could be something that you can offer to your employees. Exchange workers partners. Okay, might be also institute shorter work weeks. Instead of asking them to report Mondays to Fridays, just ask them to report Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Give them 2 days off or more than days off. Cut the wage or the benefit. I'll show you how later on. Okay, cut part-time and the contractors as well. So these are things that you can consider for the laying off. Now, in case of really downsizing, here are some best practices that I'd like to share further with you. I hope everyone is still in tune with me. Can you give me a thumbs up if you're still with me as I'm speaking? I've been speaking for 30 minutes. Are we all good? Yes? Okay. So let me now proceed. Here are some best practices that I will share with you if in case you will downsize your organization, because this is a reality. So let's not be naive here that we will not downsize. We will downsize. Most companies will downsize in this case. Now, the challenge of downsizing here is the emotional trauma. Okay, that's for sure. Okay, I've been into companies who have downsized, and there are some horror stories that I will, probably regret hearing, because at this point when you're downsizing, it could be something that your employees will experience. So in this presentation, I'll try to give to you some best practices that I've experienced. So I have 8 practices that I'll share with you one by one. Okay, yeah. So let's go to each one of them. First, plan in advance. Okay, although obviously, so sabi nga nila, this crisis have left us really with a shock. That's why planning in advance is something that we can still, as a principle, do. So again, many organizations wait until the last moment to downsize. So here are some best practice. So be proactive before the 11th hour. Bring together your cross-functional teams of people, HR, and other managers, labor leaders, if you have union leaders. The planning team should represent the needs and the concerns of the entire organization. Okay, make the cuts as quickly as possible. Okay, nothing is more demoralizing to employees than hearing again and again to the last round of cuts. Okay, diba? Sabi nga nila, give it to me, directly, so that it will not hurt too much. Kasi mas mahirap pag pinatagal mo because lalong masakit kay employee. Kasi nag-iisip na siya, for example, pero ayaw mo pagsabihin kung mawawala siya. So again, we have to be transparent here. Information sources for your planning could be make an inventory of your employee skills, performance levels. Look at the things that you have right now with you. Demographic data such as rank, pay grade, years of experience, age, gender, and all of these things. Also information about successful downsizing processes from other organizations. Okay. Now, the role of human resource here for downsizing, HR managers are essential members of downsizing planning committees. They must help develop an employee plan for downsizing, which should include issues about attrition, involuntary separation, outplacement, workforce distribution. There are a lot of things that HR will be busy about at present and also after the crisis. Okay. Now, second practice, best practice, senior leaders should be involved early on. Okay, the active involvement of executives and management has been shown to help achieve downsizing goals with the loss in quality and quantity of the service. Communicate as early as and as honestly as possible. Employees need to know the reasons behind the downsizing. Remain also visible throughout the downsizing effort. You don't want to be losing or at least vanishing at the the downsizing effort. Okay. Also be strategic about your cuts. Okay, what do you mean by that? Across the board cuts harm core competencies, and leave your organization. What do we mean by that? Don't wash out the whole department. Leave out someone for that person. Okay, obviously because if you wash out everyone, then obviously and let's say you maintain just a junior person, this person will actually be a turnover for you. So decide what is essential to your organization's core products and services and what is peripheral. Okay? Legally discharge employees whose performance does not meet your standards. So this is the right time for you. If there are some people who are not meeting your standards, use your disciplinary process to let them go. Okay? Number 4, use multiple techniques for downsizing. Okay? Consider options as natural attrition. Natural attrition would be obviously in a crisis, people would decide for their own benefit. So some people will go. Early retirement could also be considered. Buyout incentives, mandatory vacations, hiring and overtime freezes, okay, short-term work weeks, salary reductions. So take note, salary reductions. There is a particular questions here. Salary reductions should be always with the reduction of the work also. So it could not. It could be a question later. So we'll try to discuss that. Facility shutdowns. Employee sabbaticals, etc. Institute flexible work practices such as your telecommuting, part-time employment, flexible work hours, okay, job sharing, and also leaves and leave without pay. Okay. Again, the concurrent use of multiple downsizing techniques helps ensure that the success of the downsizing process will happen. Okay. Remember, downsizing by involuntary separation should be the last resort because obviously your involuntary separation would mean that you will have to pay or at least provide separation pay. So that should be your last resort. Do all of this stuff first before you consider downsizing everyone. Okay. Number 5, best practice. Too much communication is impossible during downsizing. Employees expect senior leaders to communicate openly and honestly about the reasons for downsizing. Don't try to soft pedal it, as it only increases anxiety. Okay? Be brave enough, be courageous enough. Build trust by continuing communication efforts throughout the downsizing. Do not rely on letters, memos, or emails from senior leaders. It will not be effective. This time, it will be more of face-to-face communication. Face-to-face, two-way communication where managers will listen and tell will be effective more than emails and letters. Okay. Also, use multiple communication techniques such as small group meetings, briefings by managers, one-on-one discussion, breakfast gatherings, all staff meetings, video conferencing, and all of these things. So use different communication channels. And also train your supervisors and employees who will be downsized on how to deliver the message. Because obviously, some people, especially if they're supervisors, they might not also be aware or trained well to be able to communicate in this time of crisis. Do not also be afraid of seeking employees' ideas or concerns. Okay, definitely suggestions are very much open at this point. Establish a team including employees at all levels to generate ideas for savings. Yung mga cost savings natin, this is the right time for you to consider what are ways that you can cost save. Two-way communication also empowers employees during a period when people may feel helpless Okay, because obviously some people are feeling helpless nowadays, so you need to communicate or over communicate at this point. Okay, 6. Best practice. Survivors are key. What do we mean by them? Okay, meaning if you downsize, don't neglect the people who are left behind. Okay, the success or failure of a downsized organizations depends on the remaining employees. No, according to a recent survey, they have found that 45% of organizations provide structured services for surviving employees. No, whereas 80% provided these services for departing employees, meaning that people who will be maintained in the company, will have a different feeling or a different status. So don't neglect them. Don't communicate that survivors are fortunate to keep their jobs in difficult business environment. Okay, don't tell them you're lucky, because obviously you'll never know, because that luck might run out of them, because at a certain point, if the company really sink, then obviously they will also be considered to be downsized. Okay, many survivors behave also in dysfunctional ways after the event, including falling victim to survivor sickness. Ano yung survivor sickness? Ibig sabihin yan, after the downsizing, they're not anymore motivated to work. They have that survivor sickness. People don't, once they see that their friends, their kumares and kumpares are not anymore there, they will have that sickness, na I don't want to work in this company anymore. Okay, and that will also trigger fatigue and resentment for them. Okay, so again, how survivors feel about the organizations at least partly dependent on whether they believe their downsized workers were well treated. This is a very important principle in HR. You have to treat downsized employees the same way that you are attracting new employees. What do I mean by that? Obviously when we're attracting people nowadays, we provide them all things good, signing bonus, perks and incentives, but once they go out, and then we have to let them go, treat them the same way, treat them with that same excitement, that same vigor that you attracted them from hiring. So make sure that you treat them well, and you also wish them well after the downsizing. And of course, be as generous as possible in your use of relocation and outplacement assistance. I know of companies, for example, that if they have to let go of people, they really provide a very generous, yung sabi nga nilang parang parachute assistance. When you say parachute, you have to let them go, but make sure that the parachute is really stable enough so that they can really fly again after this crisis. Okay, so survivors are critical to your organization's future, so take care of them by doing at least some of the following. So again, assure them of continued employment to rebuild their emotional commitment, probably provide some career counseling, make personal counseling or employee assistance programs outside the organization. Definitely, there will be companies who will be helping out those displaced employees. So check them out. They will be available for those who will be downsizing. Whole group meetings also between senior management. Maintain friendly relationship with the laid off employees. So because I think this is also a challenge for HR, because obviously when you let them go, you feel that you have severed the friendship also with them. Make sure that even if you have to, which is I think a very difficult task to be with, especially if you are downsizing a friend of yours, for example, a very close friend of yours, this will be really heartbreaking for you. But again, sabi nga natin, you have a job to do in HR, so you have to do that. But still maintain friendly relationship with them. Provide opportunities for new work groups to meet, feel comfortable with each other, and work together. Yeah. Formal team building might be necessary. So I think all of us, especially if you're working in a corporate setting, we all deserve a team building after this pandemic is over. Really, not just a virtual team building, really a team building of some sort for those who are left behind. Okay, so again, all of these are still present with us. Okay, and require business plans also from your departments. This is a requirement for other as outside HR. Now, these plans will help departments to implement the downsizing more smoothly and involve employees at departmental levels, to again improve their morale and trust. Okay, and finally, number 8 as a best practice is to monitor progress. Take time to periodically review the progress of downsizing, to plan, learn, and from your success and mistakes and modifying your plan. No, because I think one of the things that we have realized now is that there's no more real expert at this time. No, because we are all adapting together. No, we are trying to learn as much as we can. No, because this is a new normal. No, so survey employees and clients on a regular basis to get their feedback as well. And don't wait until the end of the process when it's too late to respond to problems. Now, as I wind up my discussion here, no, let me offer to you, if you will go through some transition, you will this model will be very useful for you. No? So if you see here, from anxiety during the transition, no, there could be some excitement because people who are coming back to work, no, are excited to go back to their workplace. But there could be worry also. No? So that means that there could be fear. No, we don't have any more motivation. No, that could be actually realistic. No, meaning that people who have pre COVID are really motivated, but after the crisis they're not anymore motivated. That's a reality because they have worries, right? Negative thoughts are in their minds. Okay, not enough time to actually adjust. No? Yeah, so all of this could be experienced. No? So there could be threats. Okay, there could be guilt, there could be depression. Okay, to a certain extent, you have to realize, the term "it's okay not to be okay," no, the term "it's okay not to be okay" is present here in the transition, meaning that there will be an episode where you're not really feeling okay, even if you have transition. Okay, so from here, you might also experience hostility. Okay, what do we mean by that? No, HR, be prepared that people will be shouting at you, people will be angry at you. That's a reality. No, people might have a lot of things to say to you, but that will toughen you up as HR. No, make sure that you don't take it too seriously. Make sure that you have a group, no, that will support you during this crisis. No, and obviously you should go towards gradual acceptance. Okay, so that you can eventually, if you go through the transition, no, what we'd like here is to have ambassadors. No, people who are downsized would still have something good to say about the company. That's your objective if you're in HR. No, because even if you have downsized them, they will tell you, no, they have been let go properly, no, with dignity, as they say. Okay, don't take away the dignity of the employees who are downsized. Now, again, last few slides. I think last two slides for me as I wind up my presentation. So, what do you need to say during the COVID? State the facts. Okay, don't beat around the bush. Demystify the fear. Okay, as much as possible, let them feel that you are still a stable organization. Okay, promote safety steps. Okay, tell them that you are doing some precautionary measures, no, that will prepare you. No? Describe the impact on the company as well. No, make sure that you tell them these are the impacts of the business. Make sure that these are things that really, no, affected the organization. No? And then, of course, don't forget to summarize the company's position. Now, this is very important, no? Because at the end of the day, what they're after is, anong gagawin ng company? What is the company's position? And obviously, you have to articulate the work from home policy. Okay? What would be preparations for the work from home? So these are the things now that you will have to be prepared for. And finally, to cap off my presentation, no, I'd like to leave you with 4 things, no, that you will be bringing home as part of this session. No, so I'd like to remind you to address the following areas. Okay, number 1, what's in it for the people? Meaning that, okay, what's in it for me? No, if I get the job, I get to go back to the company. What's in it for me? So you have to answer that. Second, manage the transition. No, I've shown you a lot of tips and techniques that you can learn from. So manage the transition. Remember that of course there will be recovery, but there will be painful processes and painful stages. Okay, so you have to adapt to it. Number 3, you have to answer the question, where do you start? Okay, so again, I've offered that earlier. Where do you start in terms of the planning? Okay, start where you are. No, and finally, number 2, no, don't forget the importance of a single action that you will do. What can I do? Okay, don't forget. Don't think about 2 weeks from now, think about today. What are you going to do today? No? And by doing that, no, you are moving forward. Day after day, you're doing some progress. No? And that will help you manage the problems that you have right now. Okay, so I hope that this presentation help you prepare better in terms of your human resource planning. If in a certain way this has touched you, so I hope that you can reach out to us or reach out to me personally or even through Ariva. This will be something that I will be more than glad to be of service to you. No, so again, these are very uncertain times, and we have to be very optimistic in terms of what we're going to do right now. Okay, so with that, I again end my presentation. Mr. Howell, Miss Irish, I'm ready for some Q&As from the audience at this point.
Wow, thank you so much, Sir Ronnie, Turla, and everybody put your hands together for Sir Ronnie. Alam mo, Sir Ronnie, ang feeling ko, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
You know what? I feel like I just sat down in an 8-hour meeting, considering that the load, I mean, that it's a ton of information you've generously shared with us this morning. And I'm sure if you will be giving these people, our participants, a chance to have the PowerPoint presentation, it will take us actually a week to digest everything.
Okay.
Ganon katindi, ganon ka-generous. So palakpakan natin si Sir Ronnie. Maraming salamat.
Thank you.
Okay, so here's the mechanics for the Q&A. And before that, we'll have a 2-minute break so that Sir Ronnie can grab maybe a bite or a cup of coffee. Let him relax for a bit. And for us, type in your question at the Q&A box. And for our FB Live viewers, comment section. And so the 2 minutes will be for us to at least think about it, digest what you can. And before that, we'll greet our birthday celebrant. Happy birthday, Jessica Abarquez and Beatriz Junette Manlapig. Happy birthday! So, Sir Ronnie, 2 minuto. Ihanda mo na yung sarili mo.
Okay.
Sa dami ng mga questions, sa dami ng mga gustong magtaas ng kamay, and we're excited about the second part. What a productive first part of this workshop. I mean, webinar. 1 hour? In 1 hour? Grabe, 8 oras worth, 8 hours worth.
Actually, parang
information.
Parang pang one day, ano to eh.
One day. Totoo. That's how I feel like nung hinahanay mo sa amin to. So, again, everyone, stay put. Or you can go to your bathroom and be back in 2 minutes. Don't go away. We'll be right back.